I'm Shalane from TSC Tuition, and today I'll be talking about how to plan for an essay on a short story collection. If your school has chosen a collection of short stories as your text response text, you may have a few questions about it. The most popular question I get about writing an essay on a short story collection is, how many stories do I need to talk about in my essay? I don't want to go into a very rigid set of rules about the number of stories that you can talk about in each body paragraph, but I would say first, check with your teacher, see what they want you to do, and go and follow that. And two, if your teacher's not giving you too many guidelines, I would suggest anywhere between 2 and 3 short stories in one body paragraph, and that you have somewhere between 4 to 6 stories in total to talk about over 3 body paragraphs. The reason why my suggestion is so vague is because there are just so many ways to approach the text essay if you're doing it on a short story collection. The most important advice I can give when writing an essay on a short story collection is that the student needs to make sure that each body paragraph is about a central idea rather than about the stories. Now, this advice applies to any text that you may be writing about. So if you're writing about a film, if you're writing about a novel, this advice still applies. Your body paragraphs need to be about a main idea rather than the story. But with short story collections, we run into that extra hurdle to overcome, that because these stories are so short and they're so disjointed because these stories don't necessarily have the same characters in the same timeline, in the same time frame, in the same time period. Sometimes they're not connected at all except by thematic concerns. So it can be really hard for students to not talk about the story per se and rather talk about the thematic concerns that we see in many of the stories. One of the ways that students can ensure that they're writing about the ideas rather than the stories is in their planning, and particularly in their brainstorming, that they don't think about the stories first and foremost, that they think about the themes first. So for example, if your prompt is something about family connections, your brainstorm needs to be about things about family connections, maybe, really positive things about family connections, maybe how family connections are really fragile, maybe a third idea about how family connections can be really difficult to manage and really burdensome. So you've got these 3 main ideas there, and then from there you branch out. So in that bit about how family connections can be really positive, there you branch out into, okay, well, it's family connections can be very supportive, they can be very encouraging, it helps people be more resilient in times of stress and trauma, and then etc. for the other 2 main ideas you've got. And then once you've gotten there, you now can attach the short stories to that main idea. Now, when you're writing your topic sentences as well, we need to make sure that the stories are not the focus of your topic sentence, because after all, your topic sentence should be about the main idea of your body paragraph. So let's say your body paragraph is about how in this collection of short stories, family relationships can be really burdensome and that they're really difficult to manage, very stressful, etc. So instead of writing something like, author explores in story A and B that family relationships are really burdensome, you would be better served if you took out the story bits of it and just talked about the thematic concerns. Something about how author explores the difficulties of family relationships through demonstrating that they can be very burdensome on individuals. And then in your next sentence, you go into story A, in story A, character does X, Y, and Z, and then off you go into that. The reason why we don't really want to talk about the stories in the topic sentence is that when you're writing your evidence sentence in your TEAL, so topic sentence evidence explanation, when you're writing that explanation, you want to go back to your topic sentence and think about, okay, well, how does the evidence that I've just provided prove my topic sentence? If your topic sentence is about the story, there's not much you can say about it when you get to that explanation bit. Whereas if your topic sentence is really about the themes or the thematic concerns of multiple stories, then it's much easier to talk about, well, the quotes that I've just put up prove that character finds this relationship very difficult, it's a drain on his energy, resources, whatever. It gets much easier to talk about it and to analyze it when you get there, and then when you get to your next story, if you're doing another story, in the body paragraph, again, it just makes your job a bit easier. Whereas if your topic sentence is about the two stories, it then kind of just veers into this summary. X, Y, and Z happens in story A. X, Y, and Z also happens in story B. The end. And that's not a great body paragraph to be writing, particularly at a year 12 level. And you would be, going up against really good writers who are able to pull together those thematic concerns in multiple stories and weaving an analysis around those concerns rather than the story. So you want to do yourself a favor and just sidestep that problem. So I hope that was helpful. As always, like and subscribe to all of our social media so you get our latest tips and tricks to achieving your best in your English subject. And as always, if you'd like to get some one-to-one tutoring, provided that you are in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, please contact us and we can send someone to you. Thanks for watching.